Today I want to talk about the role of newspapers in trying to systematically destroy the culture of Kenya. Have you ever noticed the sort of news stories that the news media chooses to focus on? When you look consistently over the last 10 years, where they are trying to make the mind of the public to focus on, you will see a very clear pattern. And this pattern reveals an obvious agenda. I don't know whether you've picked up on that, but I've picked up on that on my own. Just looking at all the headlines and the stories that they focus on. And it makes you wonder why they would do that. But then again, when you look at it from the other point of view, you realize that the news media in Kenya, most of it is foreign owned. It's not owned by Kenyans. It's not owned by Africans. All these are foreign owned entities. Now today I want to focus on a particular story I saw in the newspaper. And in this story, the newspaper was praising to the highest heavens a prostitute. They had run a news feature on a prostitute. I'm serious. And they were saying that this prostitute has slept with hundreds or thousands of men. And they wrote that story as a way of, how do I put this? As a way of praising the prostitute, as if that is a positive and major accomplishment. And they were pushing this story to, I think, in the section of the newspaper where young people read. And they've gutted our culture to such an extent that prostitutes are now making, the front pages as heroes and as examples for the young people to follow. And before these stories are run, you need to understand there's an editorial board. There are so many editors that all of these people have to approve before it is printed. So I want you to think of the level of, I don't want to call it irresponsibility, because that would assume that they're not acting in malice. And we know that they're acting in malice. And we know that they have an agenda. And they're following the pattern of the newspapers in the UK, which became respectable newspapers, all of a sudden became gutter newspapers. And they're following that same example. Unajua mzungu akifanya, the slave also has to do. Whatever the master is doing, the slave also has to do, because the master is always right. And so as the newspaper in England became more and more gutter press, so they too, following that example, became more and more gutter press. And the idea is to fundamentally change the culture of the country. And they're changing it in a particular direction. And it is always in that same direction. And I always tell people that the elite of Kenya they're mostly devil worshippers. And people think that is so extreme. How can you say that? Why would you say such an extreme thing? Because it's true. Whether you want to acknowledge it or not, the elite mostly is Luciferian. Kenya is ruled by mostly a small group of Satanists. And they control the news media, they control the entertainment, and they're spreading their control all over the culture. All over the culture, because there's no resistance from any other person. No one is talking about this. You people, you read all these stories and you pretend that you don't see what is happening. I don't know why you ever need to pretend, but you never protest. And silence is consent. So when you don't rise up and question, why are you doing this, why are you doing that, what's motivating you to do this and that, they will continue, and they get more and more bold because there's no resistance. Because we already know that African men, especially in Kenya, are not known for courage or of any sort. They're not known for resistance of any kind. Because social values of resistance, rebellion, standing up for yourself, protesting. These are almost taboo amongst the Kenyan men. You know, Kenyan men don't like trouble, which is why a bus full of 72 people will be driven off a cliff by a drunk driver, because no one amongst the 72 passengers will stand up and protest the way the bus is being driven dangerously. They will all remain silent until they go into the grave. It's very easy to control Kenyan men. You know, the Kenyan men are very good. You know, they're very good at they're good raw material. If you're trying to, you know, to have slaves, I would suggest you go grab some Kenyan men. Yeah, you'll find very strong body, but, you know, very weak mind. So, given that that is the context, what the newspapers are doing, because they're controlled by Mzungu, as you very well know, they're pushing the culture in a particular direction. I don't want to discuss that aspect of what they're trying to do. All I want to say is that it's obvious there's a very anti-social agenda that they're pursuing, and which is why stories such as this one, where they're praising a prostitute and they're calling young girls to consider prostitution as a legitimate career, is insane. And no one said anything. And no one in the government said anything. I didn't see the civilians protesting. No one said anything. You know, whatever diarrhea that is coming from the West is immediately consumed as food in Kenya. So I don't want to be like you. So I'm standing up and I'm saying something that, you know, we won't take the opportunity to condemn the news media for the sort of filth that they are pushing into the minds of the people. And we also want to say that we are completely opposed to that agenda that they are pursuing, thinking that it is a secret agenda. We are on to you. We know what you're trying to do. We know the methods. We know the end. And we know who's controlling you. And we want to say that we are opposed to you, and we will continue to be opposed to you. As long as you continue to be opposed to our cultural values and you're pushing Mzungu values, it is to the same extent that we are also opposed to you. And we are standing up against you, just so that it can be said that we stood up against you. So we invite you to join the Church of Political Movement, because we need to rein in these maniacs who control our media, so that it can no longer be used as a weapon of war, of psychological war against us and the way we want to live out our lives. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe and comment below. Kenya's time has come. Our time has come. Your time has come. A time to succeed and not fail. A time to grow wealth and not poverty. A time to go up and not down. It's time for you to stop walking and drive your car. Stop renting and buy yourself a house. It's your time to get blessed. Join the CCV movement, and together let us kick poverty and unemployment out of Kenya. Become a member today. Donate what you can. And remember that the CCV is the only political organization in Kenya that is squarely built upon Christian values, unlike the rest. We'll see you next time. Thank you.